Today, we're jumping into a pretty monumental speech, one delivered at what the speaker describes as a major crossroads for all of humanity. The message is incredibly stark, the backstory is, well, cosmic, and the choice he presents is absolute. So let's get right into it and unpack why this moment was framed as being so incredibly important. Okay, so picture this, the Tokyo Dome. For the speaker, this is a big deal. It's his first time back on this stage in 22 years. That's a long, long time to be away. And that, of course, is the big question, isn't it? Why now? After more than 2 decades, what on earth happened in 2017 that was so urgent, so critical that it demanded a return to this huge stage for a global address? Well, according to the speech, the answer isn't some abstract philosophical idea. No, it's about a very real, very immediate crisis. A geopolitical showdown that was threatening to shape the future for every single one of us on this planet. So, let's set the scene. The year is 2017. The entire world is basically holding its breath. Why? Because North Korea's nuclear and missile programs are moving ahead at a frankly terrifying speed. They've tested atomic bombs, hydrogen bombs, and now they have ICBMs, missiles that could potentially hit the U.S. mainland. The speech argues that this was the flashpoint. So as the speech lays it out, the United States was caught between a rock and a hard place, just a brutal choice. On one hand, they could act, take military action. That would likely cause North Korea to collapse, but it could come at the cost of over 1 million lives. On the other hand, they could do nothing. That avoids war, sure, but it would create this huge power vacuum as America basically gives up its role as a world leader. And from the speaker's point of view, this whole crisis didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It was the result of missed opportunities. He points back to 1994, when the Clinton administration apparently thought about a strike but then decided against it. Then around 2008, another chance came and went, but the world was busy with the global financial crisis. So the argument here is that 2017 wasn't just another problem, it was the third and possibly the final chance to get it right. But here's where the speech takes a really dramatic turn. To really understand why the speaker sees this choice as so final, so absolute, he says you have to look way beyond recent history. I mean, way beyond, to a story that apparently started hundreds of millions of years ago. Okay, so this is where things get truly cosmic. The speech lays out this deep, spiritual history of our planet, and in this worldview, this history is the very foundation for understanding everything that's happening today. It's an epic backstory, to say the least. And the central claim is, well, it's staggering. He says that he first kicked off the creation of humanity right here on Earth more than 300 million years ago. We're talking about the age of the dinosaurs. And according to the story, humanity didn't just come from one single source. Nope, it was formed from 3 totally different groups. First, you had beings who came directly from spirit form and materialized on Earth. Second, you had beings from other universes, picked because they could actually survive in Earth's environment. And third, you had hybrids, who were created so that space beings who couldn't adapt on their own could still have a presence here. And who was guiding all of this? Well, here's the kicker. The speaker claims that he was the original leader back then, and that his name was Alpha, the god of the beginning, the god of creation. So if you zoom out to this massive timeline, the speaker says he's watched 6 great human civilizations rise up and then collapse over the last 1 million years. And us? We're living in this 7th civilization. From this huge perspective, that 2017 crisis wasn't just a political issue. It was the moment that would decide if our civilization falls just like the others, or if we get to continue. So, how does an incredible 300 million year cosmic history connect back to a nuclear standoff in the 21st century? Well, the argument is that you need this deep context. It provides the ultimate measuring stick for judging the nations that are shaping our world right now. To make his point, the speech offers a simple but pretty powerful thought experiment he calls the journalist test. Basically, what happens to a journalist who goes after the nation's leader, like relentlessly? In the USA, their life isn't in danger. In Russia, the speech claims they'd be assassinated. In China, they'd be imprisoned or just disappear. In North Korea, a journalist like that couldn't even exist. And in Japan, well, the prime minister would probably just invite them out for a meal to try and smooth things over. So this journalist test isn't just a clever comparison. No, it's used to frame the fundamental choice, the 2 huge, diverging paths that he argues all of humanity now has to choose between. And here's the choice, boiled right down. Humanity has to pick a path. On one side, you have the path of totalitarianism. Think a world led by countries where fear and state control are everything, and where things like freedom of speech or thought just don't exist. On the other side, you have the path of freedom, led by democratic nations that, yeah, they have their flaws, for sure, but they're built on the idea of liberty and trying to pursue justice.
But hold on, the analysis doesn't just stop with earthly politics. The speech introduces one final higher standard, the ultimate test by which all nations and the choices they make will eventually be judged.
The speaker lays out two criteria here. First, there's the right to self-defense. Every country has that, it's a given. But then there's a second, higher standard, divine worthiness. The question isn't just, can a nation defend itself? But from a spiritual perspective, is it worthy of being defended? Is its character, its commitment to justice and freedom, in line with a divine sense of what's right?
And that brings us to the final, really provocative thought. The speech concludes that the act of defending your nation can't be separated from its moral and spiritual character. It's a judgment that, in this view, no country can ever escape. It's a question that hangs over not just the 2017 crisis, but the entire future of our seventh civilization. And it really just leaves us with that central question: which path is humanity actually choosing?